Now, I hate being blatantly negative and rude, and I know that I'm going to come off like an asshole in this video, but I want you guys to understand two things. Number one, these are my opinions that have been brewing in my head for years. These are films that I've been watching since I was born, and I have a bias towards them because of it. However, I will do my best to be fair when I talk about this series and talk about its drawbacks as well. And number two, these are movies. These are works of fiction. They do not really matter in the grand scheme of things. I've already learned from being a Star Wars fan that if you have a differing opinion from somebody else, get ready to get death threats. With that being said, let's talk about the X-Men movies. Also, fuck you, I'm still sick. Now first, what I like about them. An aspect of comic book movies that I'm always impressed by is when they can transcend the comic book movie genre and just be an enjoyable film in general. And the X-Men series is one of the only comic book franchises where you can't always tell that it's based on a comic book. I mean, there are ones that definitely feel like they belong in the genre like Deadpool and Apocalypse, mostly due to their lightheartedness and their color scheme. But installments like First Class, a movie about the Cuban Missile Crisis, and Logan, a modern western, not only break the mold, but they're just good movies. When a director is able to take a character or a group of characters and make a genuinely interesting story with them, without solely relying on fan service, those usually end up being the best superhero movies. Something I admire about this series over other superhero movies is that they don't focus on selling products. After the Wolverine, they stopped focusing on the product sales and shifted it towards individual films. They even stopped selling toys. That's kind of a big deal for superhero movies. Even the fucking Dark Knight had toys. But thanks to this shift, we're not just able to get rated R installments in the franchise, we're able to get things like doubling down on Magneto's origin involving Nazis, brutal death scenes, bleak futures, and just a lot of heavier shit that some audience members, mostly kids, wouldn't be able to handle. This gives the series a lot more legitimacy. When I see Superman die, I know he isn't dead forever. But when Logan dies, guys, I think he's like dead. Like the life has completely left his eyes. But I can't just blabber on forever about why I love these movies. I feel like I have to address the one thing that this series gets the most shit for. The thing that a lot of people give the series shit for is the confusing timeline excuse.
The X-Men movie timeline is probably the most complicated timeline in movie history. It's also kind of a mess.
No, it fucking isn't. I mostly blame this being a popular thing to say on people who haven't seen all the movies, and the people that thought the jokes in Deadpool about the timeline were so funny, not realizing that they were just jokes. I'm not trying to call anybody stupid or insult anybody directly. Even I don't have the best track record of saying dumb shit. But the timeline is not that hard to piece together if you've seen all the movies and paid attention. And that's why I've gotten genuinely angry when people talk shit about the timeline. Because if you've seen the movies and are still confused, then fine. I'd have no problem explaining the little things. But most of the people who have this opinion haven't seen all the fucking X-Men movies. Most of my friends who saw Deadpool and loved that joke don't even like comic book movies. You ask them about X-Men Apocalypse and they'll say, "Who's she? I hardly know her." Anyway, I'm going to quickly explain the timeline to put this bullshit argument to rest. Okay? All of X-Men Origins Wolverine after the montage, X-Men 1, 2, and 3, the Wolverine, and the original bleak future from Days of Future Past is in the original timeline. The new past and new future created by Wolverine and Futures Past, Apocalypse, Dark Phoenix, New Mutants, and basically any new X-Men movie is set in the revised timeline. The only exceptions are First Class, which happened in both timelines, Logan, which fits in the original timeline and even has callbacks to the events in the trilogy, but is set in an alternate universe according to the film's director. And the Deadpool movies fit in the new timeline, but most of their jokes break canon, so I don't know if I definitively want to put them there. And that is the timeline. I honestly don't know why everybody makes such a big deal out of it. There's only one use of time travel, and that's all. And it's not like it was in Wolverine or some shit, it was in a mainline X-Men film. But with that taken care of, from here on is where we get into the inconsequential things. Recasting, and characters showing up at different points in time. You see, X-Men has been going on for non-stop for almost 19 years, and because of this, not everything is going to add up. We'll get to that. And both of these small things have really simple explanations. The appearances is just recasting, which is going to happen when a series has been going on this long, especially when some of your actors have been in almost every single mainline installment. And then there's the characters that were one way in this timeline, and now are this in this other timeline, which makes sense. If the butterfly effect are rules we're going to go by, it makes sense why, after the abundance of changes in the revised timeline, characters like Yukio were this, but became this. Same with Psylocke, Deadpool, Caliban, Colossus, and Juggernaut. However, despite me trying to stick up for this series, there is one problem that I can't defend. My biggest genuine problem with the entire series is that Fox has let all 8 directors just do their own thing without a frame of reference or even a game plan. There's nobody with a clear vision. There is no Kevin Feige. And say what you will about the DCEU, but Zack Snyder has had the tip of his dick in almost the entirety of the franchise, giving it an odd sense of uniformity. Both of these franchises have a variety of films, all with different tones, but they all still feel like they belong in the same universe. X-Men tries to feel like it belongs in the same universe, but when you have a PG-13 film and a rated R film, that's just not going to happen. X-Men has had 8 directors and even more writers than that, with the franchise spanning for almost 20 years. 8 directors that apparently didn't have any contact with each other regarding what they were working on. Remember how Caliban was in 2 X-Men movies back-to-back that were set 46 years apart? Yeah, I can't make an explanation for that one. Well, according to the director of Logan, James Mangold, they didn't even know he was in Apocalypse. They didn't even find out until it was too late in production, which is a damn shame. There's no general direction for the series. That's one of the reasons I like it, but it could possibly be another reason why some people don't. There's not something or someone to build up towards. There is no Thanos. There is no dark side. It's just a world of heroes going on a number of different journeys, and each director has a different vision of what that journey is. Kinberg wants to focus on the main family and perfect the Phoenix saga. Mangold wanted to tell an overarching story with Logan after X-Men 3, and Deadpool, while technically in the revised timeline, doesn't fit the mold of any of the other films. I mean, they're comedy films about a guy who masturbates with unicorn plushies. What the fuck did you expect? For a series of films that not only didn't have anybody steering the ship, but has also been going for about 2 decades without a hard reboot, is something to admire. Yes, the MCU has done what this series has done quicker and more efficiently, but I also remember almost every X-Men movie. I haven't seen all of the MCU films, nor do I remember all the ones that I have seen, and you guys already know how I feel about the DCEU. Through failures, scrapped films, and films stuck in development hell, the X-Men series continues to live on. And even if it does conclude after the New Mutants this year thanks to the Disney-Fox merger, I'll always love and respect this series. Maybe in the future I'll give each film an individual video, one by one. But that'll be in the far, far future, so don't hold your breath. Also, geez Louise, Apocalypse wasn't bad. Chill the fuck out.
I had other girls, but I dropped them all. When you kissed me and you held me, now I got it all. At the drive-in, watching movies when I'm